Hey everyone, Ben Hong here from the Developer Experience team here at Netlify, and I'm excited today to talk to you about a brand new collaboration between the Templates team and Nhost, an open source Firebase alternative with GraphQL. We're excited to announce a brand new Next.js template that gets you up and running with Nhost with minimum time and configuration. For this video, you'll need to have basic familiarity with the terminal and NPM. And in terms of the accounts that you'll need to have a free Netlify account and a free GitHub account. In other words, no credit card required. Now that that's taken care of, let's dive right in. Here's a quick preview of the template that you'll be able to get up and running by the end of this video. What we have here is a boilerplate conference website. And as you can see, we have the title of the conference up here at top, where it's actually being run. So in this case, online, we have the dates. Once a user enters an email, you can see that it's actually giving you a confirmation that you've subscribed, and this will actually update the database. We can see a basic schedule here of the different talks. If we take a look at the speakers, you can see we have speakers here. We can see all the different talks that are going to be presented at this conference. And there's even an about page. And so what's nice about this is that there's even an admin section. Once you log in, you'll be able to manage the content on the website, which will update the database directly. Let's go ahead and show you how you can get up and running with this template. Here's the repo for our Nhost Netlify Starter Next.js Starter Template. As we can see here, it's a standard Next.js project, and we have a README to explain how everything works. And while you could scroll to the top and fork the repo directly here, what we're going to do in this case is use the deploy to Netlify button that we have down here. All we need to do now is authenticate GitHub, and then I'll go ahead and just click save and deploy. And so what we see here is that Netlify is automatically creating a site for us inside of my Netlify account. And so we see in my particular case, the randomly generated URL is kaleidoscope gingersnap 7b4f56. But if we go ahead and check out the site settings under build and deploy, you'll notice that actually it's gone ahead and already created my own fork of the starter template, which is really convenient. So now we can go ahead and check to make sure that everything's working. And we can check the deploy by clicking here on the. And now we can see that the site is live. If we go ahead and scroll up to the top, you'll see now that we can actually open the production deploy. And so you might notice that, why is the conference failing to fetch? Well, it's because we actually haven't connected it to an actual Nhost instance. So let's go ahead and get that set up. To create a new project in Nhost, we're going to go ahead and go to nhost.io. I'm going to go ahead and use GitHub since that's one less authentication thing that I need to track. Once that's done, you'll see that, okay, great. I have my workspace here, Ben Hong. Great. Let's go ahead and create my first project. Let's go ahead and give it the name My First Conference. Great, it's in the Ben Hong workspace. We're not going to touch the database password. But for the region, though, I'm going to switch it to Northern Virginia since I am located in the US, and I think I would like the servers to be a little bit closer to me. And then, yes, let's go ahead and start with the free plan. So I'll go ahead and create that project. And now we can see Nhost is now going off to scaffold the infrastructure that we need in order to set up a full-blown database. So we'll go ahead and wait for it while it does that. And with that, everything's now been created. So we'll see here if we take a look inside of our database, as expected, this is a fresh new instance of Nhost, so nothing is actually inside of here. But what we want to actually do is connect it to the repo that we've just instantiated with Netlify. So we're going to go ahead and click connect to GitHub. And so let's go ahead and configure that with Nhost. My project currently exists inside of the Ben Hong workspace. And so I'm going to actually just select a specific repository since I know what I'm looking for. And so for me, I'm looking for my Nhost starter template, which you can see is automatically being filtered, which is great. And so that's all I need. I don't need to give it permissions for everything, but it's totally up to you on what you want to do. Now that that's done, I can go ahead and hit that connect button, and then I'll go ahead and connect the repository. Now you'll see now once it's been connected, you'll see a couple things updating. One, it indicates that GitHub is connected. And so if we take a look now at the database, we'll notice that some things are actually starting to be populated. So we see conferences, speakers, talks. This is pretty great. The key thing that I want you to pay attention to right now is that in the upper right, because this provides us the environment variables that we'll need to connect our Netlify site with the Nhost instance. So let's go ahead and update that, shall we? I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the site here. And if we get out of the deploys, we'll go under site settings. And under site settings, if we go under build and deploy, and we go to environment, you'll see here that we have our environment variables that we can configure. So if we click edit variables, let's go ahead and add the variables that we'll need. We have the next public Nhost subdomain, and the other variable that we're going to need is the next public Nhost region. These are in the README, so you can copy and paste those. You don't need to memorize that at all. So what about the values in here? Inside of here, we'll see that region here is Northern Virginia, but the value is actually this US East 1. But luckily, Nhost has made it easy for us with this copy button. So once we've copied it, we'll go ahead and come back in and paste that inside of the region. So just so you can see this, there you go, US East 1. And then the other one that we need here is the actual subdomain here, which I'm going to go ahead and copy. And we can go ahead and paste that over here. You can see here that that is identical. And so now that we're good, we can go ahead and save this. Perfect. Now, we're going to go ahead and check real quick inside of here. You'll notice that our deployments here is actually updated and it's now live. And to show you what's changed, if we look inside of our database now, you'll see that our tables have been populated and there's even sample data inside of here, which Nhost has graciously provided for us so that we can actually see something on the website. Back inside of Netlify, now that we have our environment variables, let's go ahead and actually trigger another deploy. So we can do that by going under the deploy tabs, and then we can go ahead and hit trigger deploy and then deploy site. Now, let's just wait for Netlify to deploy our site. All right, and with that, our site is now live. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like in production. So when we scroll to the top and we click open production deploy, you'll see now that, hey, everything's actually showing up. Let's go ahead and sign in, shall we? To show you that the admin part works, we'll go ahead and use a standard user that's automatically scaffolded as part of this starter dataset, but you can go ahead and delete this whenever you're actually using this for production. You can see now once we sign in, you'll see we have the ability to now delete stuff. So for example, let's say why marketing is funny. Let's go ahead and delete that. And then on top of that, let's go ahead and register someone. So like test@email.com. And we click register. You'll see that subscribe again. And we can actually go ahead and inside of our speakers, you can see you can manage that. You can add new speakers. So we could be like, so I can add myself, for example. And so Twitter tag Ben Code Zen, job title, developer, experience engineer. And you can see that that automatically adds me in there. And then we can add a talk, for example, that says my new talk. And we'll go ahead and attach that to myself. Let's make sure we actually make the talk on that day because otherwise it won't actually show up on the schedule. So we'll say that it's on the 28th. Sure, that's fine. And then it doesn't matter about the time. So as long as we make it September 28th, we can add a new talk. And you see here, my new talk appears at the top. And then if we go inside of home, there you go. Check it out. Everything's been updated. And then to verify that this is not just being done on the front end side, we can actually go inside of Nhost. And now if we take a look at the database, if we take a look at speakers, hey, there we go. Ben Hong is right there. And if we look at the talks, there it is, my new talk. And just like that, you've now connected Nhost with Netlify. Now, of course, you might be wondering though, this is great for the first part, but how do I develop locally? When working locally with Netlify, I highly recommend using Netlify CLI. You can check to see if it's installed locally by running the command netlify --version. If nothing comes up though, you can go ahead and run the command npm install-g netlify-cli. And once you install it, be sure to run the command netlify login to make sure that your terminal is authenticated with your Netlify credentials. Now, the command I want you to run next is netlify link. And this is a really cool command because what it does is it connects your local repo with your Netlify app. We're going to go ahead and use the git remote origin. And what that'll do is it'll check your Netlify sites to see if they have any sites that are already connected to this repository. And when it does, it will automatically link those two up. Next, we'll go ahead and install our dependencies using yarn since there's a yarn lock file inside of this project. But for those who aren't using yarn, you can run npm install as well. Before we move on, let's also make sure to go ahead and delete the .m.development file, which will actually go and inject a test environment into our local dev, which we don't want because we want to actually connect it to our instance of Nhost. Once we've done that, we can actually now run the command netlify dev. If you're wondering why we're running netlify dev and not, say, npm run dev, for example, it's because netlify dev is going to run that same command that we're used to running, but it's going to do a lot more, which we're about to see right now. As Netlify Dev starts up our local dev environment, we're going to scroll up and we'll see that something special is happening up here at the top. And what we'll see here is that Netlify is automatically injecting our site setting environment variables, as we can see here, next public nhost subdomain and next public nhost region. And that's being done automatically. So in other words, you don't have to share the .m file with people anymore because now it's connected to your site and people, as long as they're authenticated properly, will actually get the right environment variables, which makes life super easy. And once Netlify Dev is finished, it should automatically open up a browser where we can see a preview of our local dev environment. And as we can see here, the data that we added earlier inside of our admin view is actually showing up on local environment. So that's how we know we successfully connected our local environment to our Nhost instance. Huzzah! And with that, you're off to the races as you're ready to develop your Next.js site using Netlify and Nhost. And a big thanks goes out to the Nhost team for helping to bring this to life. I look forward to seeing what you all build with this new tech stack.